Welcome to Talking Politics. I am Paul Gable. I'm here with my good friend and co-host John Bond Sr. And today in the law offices of Rankin & Rankin in Conway, we have Senator Luke Rankin with us. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back. Luke, thanks for joining us.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Welcome.
You are the senior member of the delegation in times of seniority, right? 1992 to present?
That's right. That may not be a great distinction, but that is true.
And you know, Luke, from what I see, you've managed to keep the gray out of your hair quite well.
Your eyes are what? What's your vision? How poor is it?
Lacking, is that what you're saying?
I am blonder as I age.
Nothing wrong with that, right?
Right.
But look, I think I'd like to start with asking you, back in the general election, we had an advisory referendum on impact fees. Mm-hmm. About 3 out of 4 voters voted for some kind of change in legislation for impact fees. Now, it's been a long time since I read the impact fee legislation, but I know it's very restrictive. Will our delegation get behind trying to make some changes that can become a very reasonable thing in Horry County?
Remains to be seen. That, as you know, was not a binding referendum.
Right, it is not. It was only advisory.
With some debate within council as to whether they really wanted to test the waters to see.
I think they were afraid of the results.
The results might be the proof as to why they were afraid.
But if you have the legislation, you're going to have a problem with the upstate, aren't you, with respect to impact fees? They're not 100% behind them. Right down here, where you have a lot of development, we are. But upstate, you are. They want the tourism up there. They want the development up there, don't they?
It's going to be. We'll see. We have pre-filing today for the Senate. I'm not aware of anybody pre-filing a bill to change that. But as John references, not just upstate, lower state, but there's a huge institutional awareness of what happens with impact fees and what can a county do versus what does a state do statewide. We're obviously in a growth area. We're one of the fastest growing counties in the nation, continue to be. MSA, again, in the Grand Strand area, one of the fastest growing, some say the second fastest growing in the country. And you've got a divide between those who have been here for a while, far fewer natives. You're not a native. You're not a native, John. I'm of the 4 of us, including.
Well, does that make any difference? I don't think
it doesn't make a difference.
It doesn't make a difference. We live here. We now have residents here. So what difference does it make?
Does he get cut off by you?
No.
Yeah, I cut him off.
I'm just saying it the way it is.
Cut him right off.
I'm just saying it the way it is. Look.
Here's the point. Let me
Let him make his point,
my point, and then you can rebut or editorialize as you like. But
all right, I'll just
ultimately, the debate between not in my backyard, you've heard that before. We don't want any new growth. We want to raise the bridges. We're in. Y'all don't need to come because you're incredibly encroaching upon my neighborhoods, the traffic, on and on and on. And for a fact, we are a growth area which has unique strains on the infrastructure, the schools. I mean, you go across the line of governmental agencies, be it city, county, state, in terms of the demands on our area. You cannot ignore the fact that there is growth. Now, how do you manage that is the ultimate question.
By good planning, which we don't have.
I mean, we've effectively had no planning in Horry County.
Bad planning.
And then ultimately the question is, who pays for it?
Well, there is that question, and now you're right. I am not a native. I've been here 35 years.
Doesn't matter. And let me, before I was interrupted so nicely by John, we're all residents here.
And
whether
we're all
you moved
affected
here
by it.
a day ago or a decade ago, everyone's calling Horry County home. It is their home. But the old folks, me, again, in this in this present company, 1 out of 3 born and raised right here. And then our film crew and editor, Mr. Burgess, of course, he is a native as well. So the changes that we've seen, and I'm 56, the changes that we've seen in Horry County is dramatic. You've been here maybe
35 years.
35 years.
Change has been pretty
John,
dramatic
you've been
then.
here how long?
21.
21 years. So again, across the spectrum of how long you've lived here, whether a lifetime, 35 or 21, the changes we've seen will continue to be dramatic. And so it affects everybody. Ultimately, the question is, how do you pay for the growth? Is planning the fix alone? Do you impose it upon a developer who, as you know, will be passing it on to the ultimate buyer?
Yeah, but the developer comes here to develop and they go away. They make their money and they leave.
My point is this.
And that's not
the way the impact fee law is written right now, as I remember it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you can put an impact fee, you could impose an impact fee to build a fire station. And the fire station has to go in the area that that they're paying the impact fees from. The law says that it can't be used outside of that area that the impact fees come from. Now, if you could manage to buy a fire engine, I think it's a $100,000 limit. You got to spend $100,000, right? If you could buy a fire, and I'm sure you can for over $100,000, you got a situation where you could possibly build a station, put in engines. Staffing doesn't count. That can't come from that. But the engines couldn't be used outside that area. That's absurd. That's totally absurd. Isn't that the kind of thing that can be changed?
Things like that don't make sense, you would think would be low-hanging fruit. There's great concern by the General Assembly, and no disrespect to our county or our city fathers, but accommodations taxes is an example of allowing a tax to be imposed for a stated purpose that then is watered down and just becomes another means of raising money. Tourism development, another example. On and on and on. You've got fairly close parameters on what it's supposed to go for. Again, another debate, you're smiling at that, but ultimately fear by the state as to imposing a tax, imposing a impact fee, for example, and it being used beyond the stated purpose or something related to it. So I will say this, it is a big debate that Horry County alone will not decide, because there are 170 members in the General Assembly that ultimately will decide.
Well, you know, one of the complaints, and you said you follow some of the stuff I write, and thank you for that. We'll take a break and we'll be back with that question.
Oh my God.
Didn't I tell you he would?
Before opening 101 Barber Studio, Master Barber and educator Troy has worked with the top brands in his field and inside the East Coast's most reputable barbershop from New York City to South Carolina. He has put his skills to work for editorial photo shoots and on television set. His mission now is to consistently provide the Grand Strand with affordable, quality haircuts, great service, and attention to detail. 101 Barber Studio, located at 3574 Northgate Boulevard, behind CC Pizza. Get your haircut today.
My name is Angelo Antonucci, and I'd like to welcome you to my restaurant. I've been in Myrtle Beach now for over 30 years, and we are the home of the greatest steaks in the universe. Here at Angelo's, we have a fantastic Italian buffet with your favorite pastas served with meatballs and sausage and delicious gourmet pizzas. But where we really shine is our entrees, like our Scampi Traditional, Alfredo or Lemon Romano served over linguine, our French pork chops with garlic mashed potatoes, and our twin fillets featuring our signature Marsala sauce. It's a great place to enjoy with family and friends, so stop by and see us at our new location at the corner of 24th Avenue South and South Kings Highway. Don't just take my word for it. Come in and try Angelo's, home of the greatest steaks in the universe.
Here at Angelo's.
Welcome back. We're here with Senator Luke Rankin, and we were talking about impact fees. And here's one of the things that I'd really like to ask. Home rule doesn't really exist in South Carolina. Home rule exists in Columbia. The General Assembly wants to basically make the laws for the state. And they've allowed some things and what have you. But shouldn't a local county such as Horry be allowed to determine what it needs to meet the development that's coming? I mean, you know, Act 388 of 2006, probably some of the worst legislation ever been passed by the General Assembly, and we all live with it today, and that limits what you can do with property taxes. Maybe the intent is good, but shouldn't a local body have more say in what they can do? You know, we have situations now, a lot of tobacco properties. The development's moving west. It's hit 90, it's hitting 905, and you know, Green Sea and Floyd's and what have you probably aren't that far away from it. We're into those old tobacco properties where the infrastructure is not there. But should we tax everybody, including your family who's been here for generations and me who's been here for 35 years, to add infrastructure for out there? Maybe not totally, but shouldn't a portion of that development pay for that kind of infrastructure is the question I'm asking.
And that's the debate. Again, we're the first to put that on the referendum in Horry County. I mean, we were testing the waters, and I think it's that result is not surprising to me because there's a great sense of, wow, I'm here, and I can't believe all the attractive things that make Horry County the place to be, and will continue to make the place to live and retire. Aside from what we do with impact fees, I don't want, in my view, it is not going to affect or curb people's interest in coming here.
I think that's fair.
Whether we have one or not. And again, more to the better debate, or to your question, I don't want to keep paying for these things that are just making life worse for me. Kind of the base question here. And so we're all in it together. How do we make the new people pay more?
Some.
More than what we're paying for the benefit that we've already gotten ourselves.
Well, maybe not even that. But the point is this. Why, if we could police this county with 100 police officers, for example, when I moved here in 1983, and now we need 200, why shouldn't part of the development that's causing the need for that pay a portion of that up front? Not the whole amount. That's absurd, because then we go into a bunch of special tax districts, I guess, under state law. But you know, why shouldn't we be able to have that paid? Because you know, the real estate industry will say, "Oh, we can't sell houses." Well, yeah, okay. What's the average home price in Horry County? 150, 160, 180, whatever it is. If it becomes 155, 165, 185, that ain't going to make a decision on whether somebody buys a house or not.
I'm sitting here listening to this filibuster. I'm sitting here trying to get a word in, and they're filibustering.
All right, John, go ahead. It's your show.
Purposely keep me out of the equation because I have a different viewpoint of what they're saying. But however, I don't want to be disrespectful to my good friend who gave me a nice coffee. Here it says Rankin. See, look at that nice coffee cup. See, Rankin. So I don't want to be disrespectful to him. I want him to finish what he's going to say, and then I'll interject my little comment. Senator, go ahead.
Last point on this, and I know we're going to talk about something other than an advisory opinion that has just been hoisted upon us by the good sense of the county council members, but Horry County and South Carolina will continue to be an attractive place, not to just live, but for folks to come in. To your point about effect on a price of a home, people are going to come. Are they going to be dissuaded because of this fee or that fee? Ultimately not. The question is for us, what's the right balance? And that'll be debated in the
But once they
State
come
House.
here, they like it and they want to stay.
And they're going to
and
keep
what happened?
coming because the tax
Filibuster.
treatment alone, particularly in how we've changed.
Yeah, but it's not only the tax,
federal
it's
tax law.
other things that they have here that's conducive
Healthcare,
to their...
quality of life, 4 seasons, on and on and on. It's
Exactly
a great
what I
place
was
to
going to say. He wouldn't let me
And
say it. He's reading my mind.
To be John
He's a mind
Bonsignor's
reader.
neighbor, Paul Gable's neighbor. That's why they want
Well, there
to
aren't
come.
many people that want
Well,
to live around here.
the question, Senator, is of fairness. And when you look at Horry County, how it's growing and the amount of monies it has raised throughout the years, we're a rich county. So consequently, if you're dealing with other counties outside here, you have to be fair and give them a fair share as well. So consequently, it's very difficult sometimes to legislate in this state because of the antiquated laws that they have that have to be revised, and they must revise them. Now, I understand that this state here is very prosperous. They have $1 billion that they can spend. And it's surprising that you don't know this, and I don't know this. And we have to learn it through programs like this to understand it. So my question to you is, you do have $1 billion, don't you?
He's talking the excess revenue
Surplus.
over projected.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
That
Is that correct?
generally speaking,
No, is that correct?
I can't.
Well,
give you
generally
the-
that doesn't answer the
There's
question.
a surplus. There's
Okay,
far,
there
in
is.
fact, a surplus this year.
And how much is it?
It is
One?
I can't give the exact figure. You're in the ballpark.
Okay, thank you very much. So what would you be doing with that money in the next legislature?
So we will
2019.
there will be a debate about how to spend that surplus. Will it be a Christmas tree of pet projects across the state? I don't think so. What you're likely to see is a state employee one-time bonus. It could be for teachers. It could be across the board.
Why don't you raise your salary? Why must you make only $10,200 when you have now, it's no longer a legislature that only works part-time. So your time now is going to be, it gets more and more involved as we grow. So why don't you get at least an aid, a legislative aid that can help you out? You can't go to everything. Look, I pester you myself because I belong to 6 different organizations. And I pester you, and you try very hard to make everything I ask of you. And
Luke, if I'm
sometimes
not wrong, John
wait. Just
pre-file a
you
bill
spoke
on
already. Let me finish.
$100,000 senator salaries.
Why can't I finish my statement? I want to make a point here that you and the legislature has to consider meeting the needs of the people, and you possibly can't do it because you're busy with other things, and it's not fair to you or to your other legislators that you don't have any help. Why can't you consider raising your salaries?
Well, I will tell you, we have, over time, and I've been in the Senate since 1992, which is, again, too long in some camps. I hope not, but for the majority of people. But we have not chosen to raise our salary, and there will be an effort to study that not only for the legislature, but for our judges as well. And you've got to peg it at some reasonable standard of living and make it effective prospectively.
But you're getting
if
people.
you do that.
You're getting people moving into the area that are from the north, and they have the services from their government. They have legislators making $92,000 a year, and they don't. And they have 4 different aides, and they have an office, and they have a staff, etc. Here, we're developing. We have a surplus, and we're still antiquated. We're going back to the 19th century. Why don't we go live in the 21st century where things are becoming more advanced?
Well,
Why can't it be considered that way?
John's talking, though, about the North and the legislators.
Oh, they're coming
He comes
here.
from Brooklyn, and most of that 92,000 didn't come from salary.
Is that part of the United? Is that part of the United States?
We'll be back in a moment.
Is that part of the United States? Answer my question. Is it part of the United States?
I'm not even
So
sure they
keep
want to
quiet.
consider it
You don't know
part
what
of
you're
New York
talking
City
about.
anymore.
As usual, he doesn't always.
We'll be back in a moment.
Located at 1300 Highway 544 near Coastal Carolina University, Soho 544 is an area's favorite for sushi, hibachi, American and Asian fusion cuisine. Soho 544 also offers daily happy hour special for only $5, as well as some of the lowest beer and liquor prices along the Grand Strand. So don't wait, come and join us. Soho 544 also caters to large parties and special events.
P. Reynolds by the Ocean is a restaurant and live performance space
with an open jazz jam every Thursday at 6 p.m. Are you looking for something special, something new, something different on the Grand Strand? Great food, cool jazz. You'll find it only at P. Reynolds Jazz Supper Club, located at 1212 North Kings Highway in Myrtle Beach. P. Reynolds by the Ocean, something special in Myrtle Beach.
Before opening 101 Barber Studio, Master Barber and educator Troy has worked with the top brands in his field and inside the East Coast's most reputable barbershop from New York City to South Carolina. He has put his skills to work for editorial photo shoots and on television sets. His mission now is to consistently provide the Grand Strand with affordable, quality haircuts, great service, and attention to detail. 101 Barber Studio, located at 3574 Northgate Boulevard, behind CC Pizza. Get your haircut today.
We're in for our third segment. We haven't given our guests much time to talk. John and I have been running our mouths like crazy, but let's go to one of the things that started last year and is going to get bigger, I'm sure, in this legislative year. What about the Santee Cooper SCANA mess, for lack of a better term?
And it's a perfect term. D.C. Summer, the area in the central part of the state where SCANA and Santee Cooper partnered to build 2 reactors. Westinghouse, the builder, we all know, filed for bankruptcy, threatened bankruptcy, and the cost projections to finish what was started were just astronomical. We had Fukushima that came in, the earthquake that had the spill and the contamination there that changed the dynamics and even further regulated how a new site had to be built. All that said, South Carolina stopped. SCANA going under great scrutiny right now and possibly going to be bought by a company out of Virginia called Dominion. We're waiting any day now for the Public Service Commission to issue a rule whether or not their price is a fair price to the ratepayers. How does that affect us here in Horry County? Santee Cooper was a 45% partner in that deal. We have been paying, there are 2 million Santee Cooper customers, either direct serve or through the co-ops across the state. We've been paying about $27 a month more for that future switch to go on to produce more energy. That across the board has not been deemed to be a smart idea, an unfair idea. You're not getting what you paid for. But all that said, we are now investigating the value of Santee Cooper. Years ago, Governor Sanford had a private plan to sell it, instructed his board to go out in the private market under hushed, not transparent disclosure at all, and we caught them and we put the stop to that. Now the question is, we as a state are looking at what is the value of Santee Cooper. It is a quasi-governmental run business. Our rates here in Horry County in the service area of Santee Cooper is less than an investor-owned utility like Duke, like SCANA. And so there are a lot of folks from across the country coming in saying, hey, we want to buy this, we want to operate this, we will be really good for y'all, except they won't have the tax-preferred treatment that we long ago in the 30s established this. So it is a difficult subject. Effectively, how do you analogize it? Your home. What's your home worth? Do you want to sell your house? How do you know what it's worth? You get an appraiser. That's what we're doing now with an eye, not in advance, I'm going to sell it because I'm against that, unless we can prove that it will be in the best interest of the ratepayer.
And that's the key, the ratepayer, because the ratepayer, you know, when they paid, like you said, $27 a month or so more for a few years, and all of a sudden that money basically went is gone.
Right.
And they're not getting anything for it, and they don't want to have to pay any more. Is that in the cards?
That's the whole, again, debate, and who's got the best offer. And Dominion, again, buying an investor-owned utility, which is SCANA, It's publicly traded.
Right.
Their shares have gone from the 80s down to the high 30s now. There's a market there. And so with the Santee Cooper purchase, it's a quasi-governmental run deal that's backed by the state. Their credit rating is affected by all of this. They project that they can weather this and still maintain an affordable, dependable energy as they have, and also be a part of our economic development portion and
with the
team.
stuff that they pay and the grants that they give instead of paying taxes.
And again, Volvo's not here. Mercedes is not here. Time and again in Horry County, the benefit to industrial development as we try to attract folks to come in to diversify our economy from just tourism alone, they have been an instrumental tool. Does a out-of-state company who wants to make money on us, the ratepayers' backs, do they have that ability? Will they have that interest in mind? So big debate that continues on. SCANA, that piece is fixed because we passed a bill that said that they could not charge above a certain rate. Fraud galore. We discovered it. I knew what to ask for, had a tip, got the guy to admit that the Bechtel report existed. I said, we've got to subpoena it, and we got it. And so sure enough, it revealed the deception that SCANA had made to the only regulatory site and body in the state, the ORS. They said, oh yeah, we can do it for this price. When in fact, they knew they couldn't. And it was misrepresentation and a fraud. Criminal investigations going on right now on that very subject.
And I think John here.
Well, you know, we have so many more issues that we can discuss. We don't have much more time to do it. But however, the one point is why are you allowing the contractors to delay the finishing of 707? They were supposed to finish it in October. They haven't finished it. Then you hear the point of view that the DOT is saying, look, it's not our fault, it's the legislature's fault. The legislature is saying it's DOT. And then also the issue of I-73. So all of these things can be discussed. We don't have much time. We only have about 3 minutes, right, Jay? 3 minutes or 2 minutes. And I don't want to put you on the spot by giving a long-winded question. But can you answer those two questions?
Well, I can tell you that 73, we are far closer to it now with the regulatory approval by the Corps of Engineers. And that not to my credit, but to Tom Rice and the entire area through the congressional delegation getting that to happen. Money to fix roads is not the question you're asking. 707, I wrote it the other night. Incredible what has taken place on that. It's delayed for a fact. The overpass over the south end, Glens Bay Road, delayed without a doubt. Those are contractual matters between the county, the state, and the developer and the builder. But our roads in Horry County are better now, and the growth that we've had since you've been here, and since we were born, incredible. Why is that? Again, Horry County went it alone early, decided to do RIDE.
With 22.
And I was on the Infrastructure Bank Board. That was the first project allowed that state money went in to help develop. RIDE 2, now RIDE 3, all before we passed what had to happen, which was the gas tax. So we're in year 2 of the phase-in of a 5-year increase on those funds. The roads will only get better, but as we have more and more people moving in, the demands will be greater as well.
Let me ask you this, if I may.
Let John finish this, because this was
but why is it that there's a dispute between the DOT and the legislature insofar as the gas tax is concerned, insofar as the completion of 707 bridge over 707? That was supposed to be done in October. You didn't penalize them in any sense. Not meaning you, but the state didn't penalize them. But however, that's a long-winded question. You're not going to be able to answer it because we don't have much time. In the last minute we have, I'll defer to you. I'll defer to you.
Let me ask you one thing. Out of that $1 billion surplus that we talked about, how much of that will go to I-73?
Probably none. What you would hope to get is funding for the infrastructure bank to do what it has done more and more down here, and that's to build out these roads.
How is the HOA bill coming?
HOA is done. You got now a means to complain, a telephone number to call, and a way to get that fixed. I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and thank y'all, gentlemen, for hosting
Well,
me
thank
today.
you for closing it. We're
Yes,
done.
sir.
And Luke,
But
thanks
look,
for having us.
And thank you for this nice cup. You're going to give me these.
That is your cup, but you got it in your hand.
Huh?
Your hand of friendship. God bless you.
There.